They're under starters' orders.
What's a race for having prospect here? He's charging up the hill, this wonder horse. They're coming to the final fence now. He needs to jump on his line. He's over safely, but he's coming up to the line. He's got a double, but what's the dirt on the ground? Ekram is going to win the national.
Hi everyone, I hope you're staying as safe and as well as possible and really looking after yourselves and those around you during these difficult testing times. Here at home we're doing lots of gardening, lots of baking, trying to fill the gap that no racing is bringing. Of course, normally we'd be in the thick of the Guineas trials, but with no set date for a return of racing, who knows how the rest of the season is going to pan out. It's a good opportunity to say thank you to those involved with the horses at these times, because they still need daily care, daily exercise. So the trainers, the stable staff, the vets, etc. Thank you so much for looking after the stars of our game, and also to those in the wider community, the NHS doctors, the nurses, the transport workers, the supermarket, food providers, everybody that's helping to keep us at home safe and well. Thank you. And to the organisations that help support the racing industry, the Injured Jockeys Fund and racing welfare as well. So what has been happening in the racing world? The flat season, of course, would normally be up and running. So let's try and get a little bit of an update from various stables across the country. Thanks to Harry with this little cameo performance with his new water squirter. Luckily it wasn't at me mid-filming the links. So what better place to start with our updates than with the last start Group 1 winner of the Vertum Futurity. He's a lovely horse called Cameco and he's in the care of the Balding stable down at Kingsclear.
Well, obviously the developments for the whole country have been quite difficult, and for the racehorse trainers, particularly trying to train horses potentially for a classic, hasn't been easy, with the uncertainty of whether the races, where and when they might take place. And this has very much sort of affected the way we've trained, but we had confirmation this week that the Guineas wouldn't be on their scheduled date in the first weekend in May, and they're going to be at a later date. So that's, at least we got some clarity from that point of view. We'd been pretty pleased with Cameco. He'd done a faster piece on Saturday. Quite happy with his fitness levels and the form he was showing. He's improved with every piece he's had so far this spring. But obviously with the later date now that he'll be running at, it's time we'll back off him a little bit over the next fortnight and regroup. And as soon as we get confirmation of when the Guineas might be run, that's when we'll step up and increase the workload with him. Obviously the Guineas was our primary target at the beginning of the season. I think that remains the case. It's obviously, being a classic, it's a very important race to his owners and to the stable as a whole. And that's remains the primary target. I mean, I've always hoped that he might stay a mile and a half. As we stand at the moment, we're not sure when the Derby will be run or at which venue, and that will have some impact on whether that becomes a feature of his campaign. But I think, as with a lot of these horses and a lot of trainers in the same position as we are, is we've got to be a little bit flexible, and the plans when we do get to see what the likelihood of where and when these races might be run, that's when we'll make our decisions. But just for the time being, it's a watch and wait. Cameco's a fabulous horse to train. He's very relaxed in his routine work. He's a good mover. He's a handsome horse. He's just a pleasure to train. Needs a little, needs plenty of work. As you get closer to a race, I did make a mistake before the Royal Lodge. I think we left him a little bit short and a little bit fresh, and that probably cost him the race. But I think we learnt from that the horse seems to cope with plenty of work and actually thrive on it. So as we get a clearer idea of when he might be running, we will increase the intensity of the exercise then, and he's just a joy to have in the yard. Last season we enjoyed a fantastic year, and towards the end of the year, we enjoyed 2 Group 1 successes, and obviously Don Juan triumphant in the Kipco Champions Sprint at Ascot, and followed by Cameco winning the Vertums of Futurity, which, as everyone's well aware, was moved from Doncaster due to the heavy ground to Newcastle, and it was a great initiative by the BHA to get the race on, and obviously we were delighted to have reaped the benefits of that. But I think Cameco's a very good horse on any surface, on any turf surface, and I hope that he could add to that Group 1 win this year, and we're very lucky that we've got other horses. Hopefully we'll be competing at the top level, and that's our priority, is to try and win as many races, as many Group 1 races, preferably in England, but anywhere in the world, as we can in the calendar year.
From one of the most exciting 2-year-old colts of 2019 to a filly who would almost have certainly started as favourite for the 1,000 guineas this year, Quadrilateral, who's in the care of Roger Charlton.
Good morning and welcome to Beckhampton on a beautiful sunny Easter weekend. Can I introduce you to Quadrilateral, who's been in great form, and we're happy with her progress. And also Andre, who's a very important part of her life, rides her every day. And the horses here in general are in a good routine of going out for an hour and doing 2 canters. We've just stepped off the gas a little bit on doing fast work, and in the event of racing resuming in 3 weeks' time, hopefully, I think most of the 3-year-olds and older horses certainly will be ready to run when required. We don't yet know what sort of programme racing will take, or when there will be a Guineas, or where the Guineas will be, but when racing resumes properly and things get back to normal, she'll be ready to run. And I think we should remember that, here we're a very small part of a huge and very important industry that employs a lot of people, and it's very feasible and possible for racing to be done behind closed doors, and for people to be able to practice all the government guidelines of distancing. Here we got a lot of hand sanitizers, we don't use common parts, all the boxes are disinfected on a daily basis, all the handles and all the catches, so we're doing everything. But the country needs racing to get back, the government needs some revenue, and more importantly we need to be able to provide some much needed entertainment for those that are banged up in their houses and flats, that just watching movies is not much fun. Racing can provide a lot of entertainment as well as employment, together with revenue, and I think that the country has to get back on its feet, and I'm sure racing can play a big part in that. Certainly on behalf of everybody here at Beckhampton, and indeed the whole of the racing industry, we want to join in a huge clap for the National Health Service and all the people that have such an unbelievably tough life looking after us, and the people in care homes and all the services are very important, and racing really appreciates all of that.
She's absolutely gleaming in the spring sunlight there, isn't she? And what a place Beckhampton is, absolutely stunning. Now, you all know about my passion for the Melbourne Cup, so let's check in with last year's runner-up and find out what's happened to his globe-trotting goals.
Morning guys, welcome to Bedford House Stables. It's a beautiful sunny morning. We've just had second lot, and as you can see behind me, all the horses are having a nice pick of grass in the paddock. These are very strange times. Work is slightly different to how it normally is. We've got antibacterial wash all over the yard, and no one's allowed into a room together. And when the horses go out, they go out in 2s and 3s rather than one big string. It's going to be short-term pain, but hopefully in the long term, racing will be able to get back going sooner rather than later, and we'll be back to normal. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are being incredibly strict with the way that they're conducting their business every day, and hopefully that will put us in good stead when lockdown gets lifted. Right behind me, and we're going to turn around here, here he is Prince of Arran, the stable star with Tash. He is in great form. He got back from Dubai safely, loved his time in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, I'm not great on the old selfie front. And plans are a little bit up in the air now. We don't really know what we're going to do, I think. The plan was the Gold Cup. Obviously, it came out the other day that Ascot are considering going behind closed doors, which is fantastic news. I was very worried that they'd have a crowd or not at all. So the fact that they're considering doing it behind closed doors is great news. And if it goes ahead, then we're looking at the Gold Cup and maybe a go over 2.5 miles again. He ran very well in the race a few years ago, where he just didn't quite get home, but he's bigger, stronger, older, and in better form now. So maybe a crack at 2.5 miles might be worth a go. And then after that, all systems, lead towards the Melbourne Cup. Obviously, we don't know what sort of travel restrictions there are going to be, but a third go and a third attempt. He was third, 2 years ago, second last year. So surely we're going to win it this year. So it'd be really disappointing if we weren't able to get down there, but we'll see what happens. He's in great form. He looks an absolute picture, and hopefully bring on a big year again with him.
The Prince and Tash have such a great rapport, both of them looking so fit and well. Now, from one young trainer to another, this time over in Ireland, and his skills don't seem to end with just training horses.
Hi everyone, welcome to Owning Hill here in Piltown, County Kilkenny. These are strange times for everyone all over the world. Thankfully we've been able to keep our operation going here at home quite easily. Obviously all the horses' exercise and work is all done outdoors, so that means social distancing, etc. is all done quite easily. We put together a short video of some of the ongoings here behind the scenes over the last few weeks. I hope you enjoy it, hope you're all keeping safe and well, and hopefully we'll be back on the race course in the not too distant future.
So good, thank you Joseph. And now we've saved the best till last, the stars of the last 3 seasons, Enable and Stradivarius, both in the care of John Gosden, and you might recognise the jockey with them too.
Hi, I'm here with the dual Ascot Gold Cup winner Stradivarius. On behalf of us, we'd like to say thanks to the NHS for doing a sterling job, especially our local hospital, the Newmarket, the Royal Suffolk in Bury, and Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. Keep up the good work, take care, and thank you again.
Well, here is Enable in Newmarket. Here we are to thank you all in the NHS for your valiant and brave work in the face of a sinister disease. Thank you specifically to Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, and of course to the West Suffolk and Bury St Edmunds, our local hospital, and our own hospital here in Newmarket, which is a centre for testing. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And Enable is very proud of her new sheet with the heart sign with the NHS on it.
Thank you so much to all of the trainers that have sent in those videos to me. They couldn't have been more helpful, and I hope you'll agree it's great to see what they're up to and get a peek behind the scenes of some of the most famous racing establishments around the world. Now don't forget, you can keep up to date with what news there is of the racing world via the ITV Racing social media channels, including Twitter and Facebook. And most importantly, everybody, stay safe, stay well, and I hope to see you on a race course sometime soon.